Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Marco Jure Show, everyone. It is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025. Thanks for tuning in today's show to hear all the relevant, groundbreaking news here in the United States and around the world, the only show where the facts are facts and hard truths thrive. Don't forget to hit that like button, follow the show, hit the notification tab, and share it as best you can. Let's get ready now for the best hour radio has to offer. Uncensored and ready to go. You know, I want to start off today's show talking about what just happened today in the UK, here in the New York Post, telling us that a terrorist kills at least 2 worshippers at a Manchester synagogue in the UK on Yom Kippur, which again is the holiest holiday for Jews. Now, I read the headline to you. Why can't they just simply say 2 Jews? They always use the words worshippers. Remember that happened with the attack on Christians on Easter, and they were called Easter worshippers? No, the terrorists killed 2 Christians. And likewise in this situation, the terrorists killed at least 2 Jews. Why can't they just simply say this? Why can't they just tell us what is actually happening? It's unbelievable sometimes. So now we know for a fact that at least 2 people were killed in this incident. Of course, 5 others were injured on Thursday when a knife-wielding terrorist plowed the car into pedestrians and stabbed a security guard outside of a UK synagogue on Yom Kippur. The savage attack unfolded at the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Manchester shortly after 9:30 a.m. as scores of people were worshiping inside. Cops then descended onto the scene, and a witness reported seeing a car crash into members of the public before a man was stabbed, lying left in a pool of blood outside the synagogue. You know, I read things like this, and it's obviously that this is something that's intentional. These things are happening more and more, these targeted attacks on people worshiping their religion. And we've seen this in our Christian churches. We just talked about this just the other day with what's happening with Christians in Africa. We have tens of thousands of Christians this year alone being killed by jihadist Muslim groups. Now, I don't say this to tell you that you need to fear every single Muslim you see. But the idea that there are not radicalized Muslims is simply false. There are. They're in every country, and they're continuing to come to white European-based countries in the West. We're seeing this. So now they're saying the maniac responsible was shot dead just minutes later by cops before he could enter the synagogue. So the murderer is now dead, so we'll never know, of course, the true motives of all this. But based on what we know, the counterterrorism policing has declared this to be a terrorist incident. Well, of course it is. It's the holiest holiday for Jews. They're all in a place of worship. This guy rams a car in. We saw this too. Right here in America. They ran the car into the Mormon church. Guy runs in. Shooting, setting fires, these are intentional. And I said this to you when I heard about the story last time. I said, why are we not putting armed security in places of worship? Now, I don't want people to have to go to church or a mass or a synagogue or a temple or a mosque and have seen people out front with, strapped with heavy artillery, but we should have these places that have armed security of some sort. Either patrolling outside or what have you. Same thing goes with our public schools. Again, it will deter a lot of these situations if the lunatics know they can't get away with this. But they target these locations, one, because they hate people there, or some type of ideology that place represents, a place of worship, I should say. And they go out and they try to kill as many people as possible. But I find it funny. It says here the guy had a knife, and he was just stabbing the window trying to get in. Now, many of you know in the UK they took away the guns in 1997. Thank you, Tony Blair. But this goes to show you, if you take away the guns, they'll go to the next best thing they can do. Stabbing. And you're seeing stabbings in many of these Western European countries where they've taken the guns from people. So, taking away the gun didn't deter this guy from trying to go and kill as many people as possible. He simply went to another type of instrument that could do the same type of damage. In this case, he used a knife, stabbing 7 different people, running his vehicle into the building, into people, into pedestrians. We saw this many times before, too. There's a parade somewhere, I think it was Germany. Car just rams through a whole bunch of people. People that want to do harm to people will do that if they see any type of way they can do it. With a vehicle, with a knife, with fire, with a baseball bat, whatever it is. They will go out and try to continue to do harm to people that they disagree with. Now, I don't have any lecture for you on this. I mean, UK has allowed many hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens into their country, many from the Middle East and, of course, Northern Africa. And you're seeing cultures clash. That's what you're seeing right now. That's exactly what you're seeing right now. The crazed killer's identity was known, but had yet to be revealed for safety reasons, the top cop said, without elaborating. So this tells you this is likely, obviously, somebody in a different religion. I'm not going to expand on that, but that's pretty much what they're telling us. Because you know for a fact, if it was a white person, if it was a white Brit, you'd know right away. But now they're hiding or concealing the identity right now, simply because of that. So clearly it's obviously somebody. They don't want you to know who it is. That's all I'll tell you. I'll let you figure that one out. But how awful is this? You go to worship on your holiest day of the year, and you have to deal with this type of nonsense? 2 victims have now been confirmed dead. 3 others were in serious condition. Wasn't immediately clear how many were knifed in this stabbing frenzy. So now you have to worry about when you go to a place of worship, is somebody going to try to ram their car into you? Is somebody going to try to stab you or shoot you or set fires to the location, like what we saw in Michigan last week? Or if you go out, are you going to be shot at by somebody like what we saw in, where was it? Was it North Carolina, I believe, if I'm not mistaken? These random acts of violence. And we're seeing it more and more and more. When the hell are we going to figure it out that we've got to start, again, using more security in these places? That's the only thing that will deter these types of people. Because they know they're going to be met with limited or less type of resistance. That's why they do this. That's why they target schools and churches and mosques and synagogues. That's why they do it. That's the exact reason why these things happen, and they get out of control. Absolutely terrifying. I mean, this is what it's for. It's to instill terror, to instill fear. And you're seeing it again more and more and more. We have footage now circulating on social media capturing a bystander saying that the perp had a bomb on him. Simply saying he's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button. This could be heard before shots from the police began to ring out. Those inside the synagogue reportedly barricaded the doors as police took out the suspect. So, again, thank God more people weren't injured in this awful attack. It's going to happen, folks. It's going to continue to happen when you bring in people that don't share your values. That's just the way it is. That's simply the way it is. I can't tell you any other way. When you have people that have radical ideas, that don't share your values, that do not want to assimilate, you're going to see this more and more and more. Just thought I'd share that with you. Oh, my goodness. Now, but look what's happening in the UK right now. There's no freedom of speech. You can't say anything. You can't criticize anybody else. Certainly not any illegal aliens or even immigrants in your country. Now, that would be a no-no, right?
You went on to say that you did not want your money going to immigrants who, quote, rape our kids and get priority, end quote. This offence is so serious that an immediate custodial sentence is unavoidable. Would you stand, please? The sentence that I pass has been reduced by 1/3 to reflect your guilty plea. The sentence is one of 20 months imprisonment.
20 months imprisonment for speaking your mind, for making a post on a social media website. This is the UK for you, folks. This is the same UK where Prime Minister Keir Starmer recently said anyone could be a Brit. Any single person could become a Brit. Doesn't matter who they are, where they come from. Hey, if you're here, you're a Brit. Now, I got to stop and tell you, folks, the British, now in the UK, of course, they are a ethnic group, a specific ethnic white group. Now, yes, anyone could live in Britain, that's for sure. I mean, anyone could live in France. I mean, I'm not saying that's not possible, or to obtain citizenship. But to simply say you are a Brit, that's different than saying you are an American, which is simply a nationality. No, Britain has a distinct ethnic group. That's why they're called Brits. That's why they're Irish, Italians, French, German, Sweden, Norway. All these are specific ethnic groups. So I don't know how he gets off saying that if you don't agree with, again, this idea of multiculturalism, that somehow you're not British, or you're simply saying that it can't be. It doesn't make any sense to me. Again, they're losing their identity as a people. That's what it's coming down to. They've opened the floodgates to everybody in the world to come there, and they're taking advantage of it. And they're telling you flat out, the UK will become Muslim. Just give it some time. And as that process continues, this replacement of the real Brits, what you're going to see now is, again, more of these attacks, more of this chaos in the streets. And so long as there is more chaos in the streets, they can impose more types of laws. And that's why they're trying to usher in this digital ID. They've already taken the guns. So free speech is dead in the UK. I don't know why you'd want to live there if you can't even voice a simple opinion. That's not even, again, inciting any type of violence. But the country itself is, hanging by a thread here. It's not the UK of the past. Not by a long shot. One of my favorite historians, David Irving, great World War II historian, was questioned, I believe it was in the 90s. And he was making some quote about why the Brits fought in World War II. And he said to the judge or whomever was questioning him, he said, "Sir, if the British who had stormed the beaches of France in World War II could see what the UK looked like today, they wouldn't have marched 40 yards up the beach." I mean, he's absolutely right. Look at it. It does not resemble the UK of the past. Go watch The Patriot. Go look and see what the men looked like, how they were, how they presented themselves. Do you think it looks like it did today? And I'm not saying a country cannot have immigration of other people, of other ethnic groups. That's not what I'm saying. But when you have this massive flood, this influx of people that, again, do not share your values, do not want to share your values, don't want to know your values, they're committing acts of terror, they're destroying the culture of the communities. You're seeing it play out here in the United States. You're seeing it play out in the West because it's intentional. This replacement is intentional. They want this, the powers that be. Never forget who Keir Starmer is. He is a complete socialist. He is about destroying the UK. Now, he pretends to love it, but he's about destroying the UK, and that's why you're seeing these policies coming into place. The digital ID will be the end of the UK. Make no mistake about it. The freedom there is gone. It is over if this gets passed. And it looks like it actually might. And they're going to try to do it here too. They're already good at controlling the social media, that's for sure. You have no freedom of speech. You have no right to own a weapon, defend yourself from the illegal invaders that they bring in and usher in. It's over, folks. The UK is done. So I have nothing really more to say about the the UK, it seems to be it's done, folks, and it's not coming back anytime soon. So don't look for it. Don't expect it. It's over. All right, moving on. The Gateway Pundit. The greatest blackmailer ever is what Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said about his former neighbor, Jeffrey Epstein. Wonderful, right? What a way to describe somebody you live right next door to. Wonderful. Now, these comments came from firsthand experiences, I suppose, but Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick was a guest in the New York Post's Pod Force One, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know what that is, where he talked about, with Miranda Devine, where he talked about commerce, tariffs, and Jeffrey Epstein. I wonder if he agrees with me and says that tariffs are supposed to be imposed by Congress, not the president himself. I'd be interested to hear that. Now, in these statements that are, again, not aligned with the DOJ, Lutnick claimed that the late, he's still alive, convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was the greatest blackmailer ever. Now, I read this, I said to myself, wait a minute. The DOJ, the FBI, they were coming out and saying that Jeffrey Epstein only trafficked women to himself, nobody else. There was nobody else involved. There was no black book. The case is closed. This is a Democratic hoax. But his neighbor who knew him is saying that he's the best blackmailer ever. What's he blackmailing people over? He thinks that Epstein had the videos of rich, powerful figures getting massages from young women, as he claims. Lutnick, Lunkhead, what's his name? Lutnick, went as far as suggesting that the pedophile traded these images in exchange for his controversial 2008 sweetheart plea deal in Florida. Right, remember he got $77 million, I think, from Les Wexler after that? Why would somebody give somebody who's just been convicted of a sex crime involving minors $77 million? Why would you do that? How did this guy make his money? That's what I want to. Let's look at the breakdown from the IRS, how Jeffrey Epstein collected all this money. How did he become almost a billionaire? How did he get hundreds of millions upon millions of dollars? How did this happen? Now, the New York Post reports that the 64-year-old cabinet secretary said that Epstein himself showed off his notorious massage room while giving Lutnick and his wife a tour of the infamous East 71st Street townhouse after the couple moved next door to the disgraced financier in 2005. I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage, is what Lutnick recalled. And he says, every day. And then he gets, weirdly close to me, and he says, and the right kind of massage. That's odd. That's creepy. I don't know why you'd associate with people like this. This is just odd behavior. The guy's got what did he have? He had some type of either, I don't know if I want to call it an operating chair, but like a chair which you would sit in for let's say a dental cleaning. He had that in his shower in one of these houses he has on the Epstein Island, down on the Virgin Islands. It's really odd stuff. He had a temple on one of the islands. I mean, what is all this for? I mean, I think you could put two and two together, folks. You're a smart group. Why did he have all this stuff? A massage chair a table in the middle of the room? Just weird stuff. Lutnick said that he and his wife quickly excused themselves and left Epstein's home. And in the 6 to 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. Well, good for Howard. Good for him. Wonderful. I like that. That's good for him. Now, Miranda Devine also asked this question. I think you'll find this interesting, but this is where he makes the admission that this was the whole purpose of Jeffrey Epstein.
This was not, the deep nuance of Howard Lutnick. This guy's gross.
Right. So how come Bill Gates and all these other people could hang around him and not see what you saw? Or did they see it and ignore it? Or
no, they participated.
Right.
That's what his MO was, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever. blackmailed people. That's how he had money.
There it is. He blackmailed people. Greatest blackmailer ever. That's how he had money. So he gets all these high-profile people. Again, she mentions Bill Gates of hell. Well, we know there's many people from Hollywood. We know there's other very big donors in America that he associated himself with. We know that he associated himself with 4 different Israeli prime ministers and President, I think, Ariel Sharon as well. How did he know all these people? Why did he know these people? What was he doing for these? Was he doing anything for these people? Why was he associated with Prince Andrew? Why? What happened to the 1,000 estimated young women that went down there? How come we have no answers on this, folks, this far into it? The guy's been dead since, what, 2019? Allegedly. I don't buy it, but he's been allegedly dead since 2019. Why do we know nothing about this? Why has there not been any type of real investigation of the people that went to this island or any of his estates? How come we don't know about this? Don't you think we should know about this to, again, stop any type of so-called conspiracy theories about this from getting out? It makes no sense to me at all. Absolutely no sense. Why we don't know more about this. Now, we can speculate. We know, again, I've told you. We've had episodes on this before. People that have gone down there. We know that people have traveled there. We know Bill Clinton traveled there multiple times without any type of Secret Service or anything. Why? What is going down there on this island? Why did various large banks, JP Morgan Chase, Deutsche Bank, pay out hundreds of millions of dollars to victims? Why? If there was no crime committed. Why are there only about 200 of these 1,000 at least girls that have gone down there, that have been trafficked there? And again, why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison if there was nobody to traffic anybody to? None of this makes any sense, folks. None of this makes any sense. It doesn't add up. Now you have Howard Lutnick telling you that this was the greatest blackmailer ever. What was he blackmailing people over for then? That's what you need to ask yourself. Obviously, it makes sense. If he had, again, recording technology in every room in his, his estates. I'm sure it was the same down in Epstein Island. Again, why does he have an operating or examination chair in one of the showers in there? It's just weird stuff, folks. Obviously, not normal things were happening there. And of course, it was involved with underage women and probably very young women as well, doing things they probably didn't want to do. Just thought I'd share that with everybody. All right, moving on. The Wall Street Journal had a really good article the other day. I got to share this one with you, because many of you probably can relate to this too, by the way. And it talks about the student loan debt crisis that is strangling pretty much everybody, but Gen X in particular. I thought this was interesting. It says here that Gen X is barreling towards retirement with an excruciating student loan burden. The 6 million plus borrowers aged 50 to 61 have the highest average balance of any other age group. And I find that a little bit odd, though, because of the exorbitant price of what it costs to go to college today. And, of course, to obtain, advanced degrees. Think about what doctors have to go through, lawyers and teachers and what have you. But they have an average balance, is what the article's claiming, of $47,857, according to federal student aid data. Now, as parents and grandparents, they are, passing along a skepticism towards higher education. And, of course, its hefty price tag that continues to burden other people. And, I look at this and I see all this and, I say to myself, what is the point of all this? What is the point of higher education? I've read you articles in the past, people graduating with engineering degrees, which, again, should be a very lucrative field. They're applying to 900 different positions, and they're told, thanks, but no thanks. Or the people applying to this many hundreds of job openings are getting callbacks from 1, 2 people. So the point is, what is the point of all this then? Is it worth it to go and, again, get yourself in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of $1,000s worth of debt? Now, you can go become a chiropractor and spend $250,000 on that program. And right off the bat, you're not making that much money. So my question to you, the listener, is it worth it to go and obtain these degrees to get jobs that basically aren't even there in many cases of the time? Earning a salary that maybe not even is conducive to the area you live or the city you live in, that barely makes ends meet, and then you're also burdened now with tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to go to college anymore? That's what my question is to you. Now, I'd say unless you're going to go become a teacher, a lawyer, or a doctor, which again, you have to pass certain credentials and obtain certain degrees to have. Is it worth it to go? I mean, I guess if you're going to become an accountant, you should go, obviously, in that situation as well. But there's certain fields that require it. You have to have a bachelor's at least. You have to have at least some type of credential. And the only way you can get that credential is by having the degree. Or, for example, for a lawyer, you have to have, pass the bar exam, of course. You have to go to school for these things. Same thing with a doctor, passing the same rigorous credentials to obtain your medical license. There are certain things you need to do if you want to be in that field. So I'm not saying it's completely worthless, but is it worth it for the majority of people? I want to share some statistics with you, though. Only 27.3% of college graduates actually work in the field of their degree. So think about it. You go to school. You're tens of thousands of dollars in debt now, especially nowadays where they've really cranked up the cost of tuition. And then you don't even use it. Over 70% of people don't even use these degrees. They're working in different fields that have nothing to do with what they went to college for. 62% of college grads don't even work on their major field. So there you go. 38% of those people with bachelor's degrees said they wouldn't have chosen a different major. I can relate. 48% of college graduates with humanitarian or arts degrees say they would have studied something different. So almost half. 24% of those with engineering degrees, good field, no doubt about it, say they wish they had studied something different. That's a quarter of the people that do that. 84% of college grads are having trouble finding work. Think about that article I read for you not too long ago. People are applying to 900 different jobs across the country. They're getting callbacks from 1, 2, 3 people, tops. 48% of recent college graduates have had to lower salary expectations. This is an interesting one. When I went to school, I obtained a master's in education. I thought it would make me look more marketable and obviously more of a viable candidate. Then I come to find out later on, a lot of times people will take off that they have a master's program because they don't want to pay the more money. They don't want to pay you the money because they want to save money. Again, it's all about budgeting. It's all about finances when you're running a school or anything else for that matter. But if they know they have to pay you more for that master's, they'll go with the candidate that resembles what they need, that they won't have to pay as much to. So I found that out. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's great. What the hell did I do this for? So many times now, people are taking the advanced degrees off, simply showing what they have as the bare minimum. Wonderful, right? Right? Oh, yeah, go get a master. It'll look good. They love that. Yeah, right. Don't do it. 34% of college grads have been hired in their current jobs without even getting a degree. That's really, it's the same thing as the people that are working in these fields. They could have been working in this current job they have without even getting a degree. Didn't need it. Wasn't required. Now imagine going into that job or that field without being tens of thousands of dollars in debt now. You see how this all works out. So to me, I ask you, the listener, is it worth it to go get tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt for a job that's not there, that may not even be lucrative, that can provide for you to have a higher quality of life? Because now you got this bill you've got to pay every month. Let's say you get out of school, right? You've gone through it. Whatever. You're making, let's say you start off $70,000, right? We'll throw a number. $70,000 out. But now you've got this $65,000 debt you've got to pay with high interest rates. And you're living in a city, let's say you live in New York City, where the rent is what, $4,200 a month? Yeah, a lot of money. A lot of money for somebody making $70,000 a year. Then you got to input the cost of food. If you have a vehicle, you're putting gas in that vehicle. New York City, maybe you're walking, who knows? But you're also paying bus fees, taxi fees if you're not driving. That adds up very, very quickly. That $70,000, it means you're probably earning roughly around, I don't know, probably just under $6,000 a month grossing. That gets eaten up pretty quickly, folks. And again, that's just your own average apartment. So you got to figure that. So all these things, they all add up over time. But you can't make ends meet. But you've gone to school. You want that degree. You think it's going to provide something more for you. And it doesn't. So you feel like you've been scammed, and rightfully so. You were promised if you went to school, it was probably drilled in your head from a young age. I go to school, I go to get a college degree, I'll have a better quality of life, I'll be able to provide. Today, that's not true. Now, it doesn't mean it's never true, but in many regards, it's not true. And again, it reflects the statistics I just read to you. You don't need a fancy diploma to do well in life. In fact, if you go to trade school, you can start your own business in plumbing, carpentry, painting, whatever it might be. And you can make a very good lucrative business off that. So, I'm sure most people listening have already attended college, but is it worth it to go do all this? And what are you going to tell your kids? What opportunities are there? That's what you have to think about. What are the opportunities available to your children now? What are you going to tell them to do? Are you going to advise them to go to school and become tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, by then probably, in debt to get a piece of paper from some of these crappy universities? Well, where all they will learn about is, communism and Leninist Marxist ideologies, feminism, all this nonsense. This is what you got to ask yourself. Is it worth it? To me, I don't think it's always worth it. I think it's good to have skills, of course. Skills are very important. That's why I think trade skills are very good. It's much less costly. And you can make a good amount of money with it. Again, if you start your own business. Business of which people need. People need plumbers. People need electricians. People need carpentry, contractors. You don't need to go to school for these things, though. And by that, I mean, obviously, a 4-year degree. You can study business at a 2-year university. You can do trade school, obviously, at the same time. Spend barely any money, and you can still provide, obviously, very greatly for yourself. It's all important things. All important things. All right. So, college, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? I think as time goes on, especially with the amount of money that the government now guarantees, so now they raise the price, right? They raise the price, same damn degree, raise the price. It's guaranteed through Congress now. They said, really? You're going to guarantee all these loans that we put out? Okay, great. We'll jack up the price now. And there you go. You have less affordable college tuition, right? Even though it was supposed to be, more affordable. This happened in 2010 under Obama. The Student Aid and Fiscally Responsible Act, which replaced them with direct loans. There you go. Guaranteed by the government, your federal government, working for you, right? Doubtful. Yeah, in fact, they're not even working right now. Nope, they're not working right now. They're not doing anything. It's totally fine. Fantastic. All right. Slay news. Love Slay news. Obama's legacy doomed over presidential library backlash of the 2024 election failures. I love this one. I had a friend of mine who brought this up to me, actually. He said, why don't you talk about this on your show? I said, all right, I'll look into it. I'll talk about it. And sure enough, this came up the other day, so I've got to cover it. Former President Barack Hussein Obama, I sometimes just call him Hussein Obama, once a literal superstar among the Democrats, appears to be losing his momentum after major setbacks in preserving his legacy. God knows what that is. Obama's legacy is in jeopardy as he battles issues, including those related to his presidential library and museum. The project is now over budgeted. Again, this guy never ran anything. What the hell does he know about anything? Never ran anything. Never ran a business. Never ran anything. Never was in charge of anything. And yet he was elected to become president of the United States. But now this project is well over budget. It has taken 5 years to commence dues to lawsuits and other concerns about the impact of the neighborhood of which he wants to put it in the south side of Chicago. There we go. The multi-million-dollar project has many problems, but the most fundamental is that it's an eyesore. That's what they're saying. Guess how much this cost? Guess how much over budget they are? This is absurd to me. The President's Library and Museum was first announced in 2015 with an original estimate of $300 million. Okay. However, that figure increased to $500 million as the plans were finalized in 2017. But it got worse. It took another 4 years before they finally broke ground. Working like Democrats normally would. The red tape, right? Everything else. Don't know what to do. Don't know how to hire people. So they finally break ground 4 years later due to several lawsuits and continued pushback from residents worried about the impact of their neighborhood. God knows what that means. By the time the price tag had more than doubled now from its original figures, coming to $700 million. $700 million for a building about Barack Obama. I mean, come on. He was a senator for 2 minutes before he became president? Was a state senator before that? What else could be in this library that anyone gives a damn about? That's what I want to know. What are they going to talk about? Obamacare? Benghazi? What are they going to talk about? How he quadrupled the national debt? What's going to be in this library? The increased costs come as a funding shortfall appears to be developing now, which could potentially put a strain on local taxpayers who will be expected to foot the bill despite promises that will be fully funded. God, you gotta love it. The original target for the Obama Foundation endowment to cover these costs was set at $470 million. Now it appears that the organization would need between $800 million and $1 billion to fund the library and the museum fully. This is absurd. It really is. Who's getting the kickbacks from this? Now, unfortunately, the Obama Foundation has raised only a fraction of the amount originally estimated and has only collected, get this, $1 million of the pledged money for the endowment. Will this thing ever even get built? Who knows? Who cares? Who the hell would go to this library anyways? Good God. What the hell did it even do for us? Nothing. Destroyed healthcare. Destroyed the tuition at colleges and universities. I'm a direct target of all that. Yep, there we go. What are they going to put in there? What, they got Bin Laden? What? Yeah, right. Come on. Yeah, they got Bin Laden and they buried him at sea. Yeah. Okay, sure. So this just shows you that Democrats cannot plan a damn thing. Everything gets blown out of proportion. And it takes years upon years to even start something. For their messiah, Barack Insane Obama. There you go. But now, it looks bad. He came out in the 2024 election. Most presidents, by the way, they don't even, campaign again for other people. Once they leave the office, they leave the office. But this time around, we had Bill Clinton involved. We had Barack Obama involved. Obviously, campaigning for Joe Biden at first. Then to Kamala Harris, who's a complete dunce. I mean, nothing could save her. Nothing at all can save her. But now this looks bad. Barack went out there, tried to save her campaign. She's often been called the female Obama. Well, as if that did anything good for her. But, it was kind of disappointing that showing in 2024. He doesn't have the pull he did, or at least once at one point. Obama gave us Trump. He did such a bad job, he gave us Donald Trump, who reversed pretty much everything that he did. Every single thing he did. That's all. There's nothing else to it. God knows if this thing ever gets built. God knows who's ever going to even go visit it. Yep, that's Obama for you, folks. Can't get anything done. It's actually very indicative. They should just put a sign there. The future Barack Hussein Obama Presidential Library coming soon. Who knows? We don't know. There you go. Not much more to say there, folks. Empty suit, empty shell, and the great divider. He's the one that gave us BLM. He's the one that encouraged men and women's bathrooms, using whatever bathroom you want, pushing the trans ideology, talking about taking your guns. He could have been such a big figure to bring the country together. Instead, he divided the nation more than we've ever seen before. That's Obama's legacy. And you don't need a library to go see all that. You can just look it up online. So don't waste your time. Unless you want to, of course. I went to the LBJ library, and I'm not a fan of his at all, but at least it was a decent library. But when I was in Austin visiting some friends, yeah. Went to the LBJ library. It was actually fun. I enjoy that kind of stuff. But I got to tell you should go to the Reagan Library in Los Angeles. It's in Simi Valley. If you're ever in LA, go visit. And the Nixon Library is amazing too, by the way, out in Yorba Linda. Fantastic presidential libraries. They're just remarkable when you look at how they grow up. And both of them are very similar in many regards. And I tell you this many times, without Richard Nixon, you don't have Ronald Reagan. You just don't. So if you're ever in LA, please go visit them. They're fantastic libraries. You'll be glad you went. Obama's, enter at your own discretion, I suppose. By the way, Kamala Harris tells an LA audience just the other day, it's time to rise up. This is an urban Hollywood. Kamala Harris is making her book tour, extending on, and she spoke at the Wiltern Theater in West Hollywood for a conversation about her newly released memoir, 107 Days. Yep, detailing her, abbreviated campaign in the 2024 race. So now the Democratic presidential nominee, who no one voted for, by the way, just thought I'd share that with you. No one, not one single Democrat, cast a vote for her to be their nominee. She was foisted upon the Democrats, and of course, some fawned over this. Other people were not happy about this. But it just goes to show you the Democrats don't give a damn about their constituents. They just wanted to put the best thing they could out there at the time. 107 days isn't a long time to campaign. But she tried to offer this upbeat message to her supporters who have been disheartened by the chaos unfolding in Washington, quote unquote, including thousands of federal employees losing their jobs, rollbacks of diversity initiatives, and a government shutdown. Now let's stop right there. Does a government shutdown really affect you? No, it affects the people, of course, in these positions. That's why the Trump administration right now is looking to lay people off. But federal employees losing their jobs, that's the same part of the shutdown. Rollbacks of diversity initiatives? What the hell does that even mean? DEI? So in other words, judge people by the color of their skin, not based on their merit or their skills or their qualifications or their discipline or their work experience. Just worry about what they look like and what's between their legs. That's all they care about. What boxes they check off so they can say, look at us. It's completely disgusting. Harris told the audience, I hope that we remember the optimism we felt in those 107 days. Our spirit cannot be defeated. Well, I think it was defeated on November 5th. Or was it November 6th? I forget what day the election was. But I think the voices came out and defeated that spirit pretty quickly. Wasn't too difficult, too, by the way. While the Democrats, she warned of these things currently happening if the nation reelected then former President Donald Trump, she admitted that she is surprised that so many politicians, universities, and media companies are bowing to Donald Trump. I predicted almost everything that has happened, Harris said to Laughter. But in all seriousness, what I did not predict was the capitulation. The universities, the law firms, the media corporations, be they television or newspapers. First of all, who's capitulating to Donald Trump? What universities are capitulating to Donald Trump? What media corporations are capitulating to Donald Trump? Was MSNBC on board with Trump now? That's news to me. And I read from these tablets every single day. What, is CNN in favoring Donald Trump now? Is late night favoring Donald Trump? What is she talking about? Universities? Yeah, go to any university. Tell them you love Donald Trump. See how that goes in the lecture halls. Now, Harris admitted she was heartbroken when she lost the election because she's an egomaniac, by the way. I haven't felt anything as remotely similar since my mother died. I was grieving for my country. Yeah, right. She doesn't give a damn about the country. She destroyed the country. She absolutely destroyed the country. She had nothing. She wasn't any different than Joe Biden. She's an empty skirt with an empty suit. That's all it was. Two nitwits running the country into the ground. And the people said, we can't take this anymore. We can't take the economy, the way that things are handled abroad. We're $300 billion in debt now of this Ukraine war. Things are out of hand. We're not respected globally. The lies, of course, that there was 13.1 million jobs created. Are you kidding me? Do you realize if we created 13.1 million jobs, how much the economy would expand? How much GDP would explode? And yet GDP never really reached, I don't think ever, over 3% with Joe Biden. Then you got to talk about the way he handled COVID, of course, the distribution of these toxic shots, forcing people to get them. Every single thing. The gas prices reaching, what, $7, $8, $9 here in California? Or, excuse me, when I was in California. It was out of control. You never saw anything like it. Price of food skyrocketing under Biden. Insurance skyrocketing. Price of homes skyrocketing. Rent skyrocketing. We've never seen anything like it before. And in many cases, some of these things haven't even begun to reset yet. That's how bad they were. Yep, there you go. That's Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, yep. Saying that the former VP, also accused Trump of bullying the media because he is trying to keep the truth from the American people. This is a time to rise up. We cannot normalize this. What is she talking about? What truth? What is she talking about? Now, again, I'll criticize Trump, but he's wrong. I'll tell you the way I see it, if it's constitutional, if I agree with it, and I'll tell you why. What is she talking about here, though? Keeping what truth from us? Again, I don't understand this. They never explain anything. Oh, he's keeping the truth from us. What truth? Nothing there. There's nothing there. Just laughter. Just stupidity. By the way, this is what we almost had for president of the United States.
We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
And I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making. Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time.
Ukraine is a country in Europe. It exists next to another country called Russia. Russia is a bigger country. Russia is a powerful country. Russia decided to invade a smaller country called Ukraine. So basically that's wrong.
So you're now no longer are you necessarily keeping those private files in some file cabinet that's locked in the basement of the house. It's on your laptop, and it's then therefore up here in this cloud that exists above us, right?
The Caribbean nations, island nations, in the Western Hemisphere. That is where the Caribbean is. We are also in the Western Hemisphere. They are our neighbors. I am here, standing here on the northern flank, on the eastern flank, talking about what we have in terms of the eastern flank. I can imagine.
Okay, all right. I mean, I'm not a drinker, but God, this makes me want to drink. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able to take it if she was president. How would she respond to Putin and Xi and Kim Jong-un? And just handling the foreign press, and any type of press, really. Would she be another, Biden? Would she just be AWOL all the time? Would she ever speak to the press? Would she continue to make an ass of herself like this? This is what we almost had for President of the United States. Never forget that. This is exactly whom they want. An empty skirt, an empty brain, someone has zero accomplishments. Well, they pretend to be a champion of the people. You can't make this stuff up. But we almost had her as president, folks. I mean, again, Trump has done some things I don't like. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you why. That doesn't mean I don't like Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump. But again, I'm a free thinker. I have my values. And again, I'll stand up when I think he's doing something wrong. When he's doing something well, I'll tell you about it. But I'm not here to cheerlead for one side or the other. I have my conservative American values based in the Catholic doctrine. I understand our founding. I understand our Constitution. And again, I will share those Republican values. And again, if somebody goes astray, I'll tell you about it. When they're not, when they're doing something right, I'll tell you about it. But this is just disingenuous. I mean, this whole book, this book tour, this kind of rewriting of history is just simply moronic. No one's going to buy the book either. By the way, Kamala Harris just hates the country. That's what it comes down to. She hates the country. She doesn't care about the country. And she would love to see the country destroyed. And she'll do it for whatever price tag they give her. That's the way it comes down to. I would love to see her run again in 2028. I think she'll bow out by the end of 2027 yet again. By the way, Zerohedge has this great article saying that Reid says earning money and leaving it to your kids is dangerous. Huh. That's interesting. Reid took shots at conservative economic policies, in particular Project Esther, an obscure Heritage Foundation initiative, which leftist conspiracists have decided is the big new nefarious scheme, framing it as a desire to revert to pre-20th century America, a time before progressive reforms like the federal income tax, the widespread business regulations, and estate taxes, and by the way, the Federal Reserve, by the way, which was a pretty big one, I'd have to say, were in existence. This is what Joyless Reid said. Take a listen to this.
Is that if you go back before the 20th century, there were no income taxes, there were no regulations on business. You could earn as much money as you want, leave 100% of it to your children with no taxes. Right. That's the world they want back. And to get it back, they need society to change. They need people to be less modern. They need people to want fewer things.
That's interesting. They want to take us back to a time where there's no federal income tax. Okay. Right. Okay. No regulations. Okay. Most regulations are junk, by the way. I mean, if regulations worked, why do we see so many issues with the environment or with the way things are done? Regulations are simply a way to put in permits and people to come and check on you and to charge you and all that other nonsense. It doesn't necessarily equal or equate to things getting better or more fair or more just. Get a building permit, get this pass, get this inspection. It's all there to, again, bog you down, to pay more. Look at this, earn what you want. You should not have to earn what you want. No, why would you? We should have a set base, universal basic income. That's what Joyless Reid would love for you. Family inherits everything. So if you want to keep the money inside your family, give it to your loved ones of whom you care about, the money that you earned every single damn day of your life, you're now evil. Again, this is the thinking of Democrats. I laugh. What the hell is she talking about? Stupidity. Now, she goes on. I'll read this to you before I play another one of her moronic quotes. She said, again, I'm going to try to read it as best I can. I don't think like an idiot, so this can be difficult for me. Well, what we always have to remember is that when they say they want women back home, they don't mean us, because they do want us in home cooking for the white family. So everything has to do with race with Joyless Reid. That's her only motif. Always revert back to racism. Very Obama-Harris-esque, I'd have to say. They want back the kind of world in the 1950s, where the only time you saw a black woman, she had a maid's uniform on, and she was taking care of your children. And the only time you saw a black man was when he was their butler or their driver. They really miss the hierarchical past that we tried to leave behind. But that's not old. We're talking about the 1950s. They desperately want that world back, if not the 40s, 30s, or the 1890s. So the goal is the goal of trying to force the country backwards to the late 19th or early 20th century. They're very serious about it. Okay, so a couple things that I have issues with here. Pretty much that she's a moron. That's number one, of course. And again, her warped view of the world. She has no idea what the hell she's even talking about. What do I mean by that? She's saying the only time you saw a black woman in the 1950s, she was wearing a maid's uniform on and taking care of your kids. No other black woman had any other job except that. The only time you saw a black man in the 1950s, he was your butler or driving you somewhere. Now, first of all, how insulting is this? How absolutely insulting is all this? She actually has the nerve to pretend like there was no blacks in other positions of power at the time? This woman's an idiot, first of all. She doesn't even know the history of anything, really, I'd have to say. I don't think she knows very much about anything. I want to read this to you, though. I looked this up. I was very interested in this. It says, America's first black millionaires. I like this. This is good. I like this a lot. So, I'm going to read you a couple names of people, and I'm going to share when they were alive, so you can see that Joyless Reid is a complete hack, and that's probably why she lost her job at MS. Nobody cares. William Leedsdorf was likely the first black millionaire in America. He was alive from 1810 to 1848. Now, let me stop for a second. Joy Reid said in the 1950s, 30s, 40s, 1890s, everyone was a butler or a driver. How did he become a millionaire? At a time where there was slavery in America, too. So let me read this to you. He said he had immigrated to the U.S. from the Danish West Indies, owned the first steamship in the San Francisco Bay. He also accomplished a list of other notable firsts, including setting up the first public school in California. I didn't know that. And creating the first hotel and the first waterfront warehouse in San Francisco. Look at that. Look at that. A man who built himself up. Yep, says here that he would accumulate a fortune in commerce and real estate in the lead up to the California gold rush. Eventually became a millionaire when gold was found on his property. There you go, a self-made millionaire. At the time of his death in 1848, he was worth $1.4 million. Not bad. Again, it's much more difficult back in the 1840s to get $1 million than it was obviously today. Just thought I'd share that all with you. John Stanley was a mixed race, former slave who became perhaps the biggest slave owner in North Carolina. By the way, there were black slave owners in America. I know they want you to think it's white versus black. It's a complete lie. Now, upon being freed, Stanley became a barber, which is relatively stable at the time. So think about this. He's a barber. Very, very good trade. But he wasn't a driver or a butler, as Joy Reid would want you to think. Now, eventually, he was able to purchase his wife's and children's freedom. Stanley would go on to own 2 big plantations. And he would own several houses and businesses. His involvement in real estate, cotton farming, and turpentine manufacturing made him one of the wealthiest men in the country. And he was alive from 1774 to 1845. Still a time where there was slavery. Still somehow made it to become one of the wealthiest men in the country. Did you hear that, Joy? You idiot. Jeremiah Hamilton. I like this one, too. It says, Wall Street's first black trader. Made his fortune in New York in the 19th century. That's the 1800s. Not much is known about Hamilton's early life, but he immigrated to New York after fleeing Haiti. Let's see. What did he do here? Says he was a figure in the real estate, speculation, deal brokering, and insurance fraud when the burgeoning business in the state was primarily unregulated. Oh, unregulated. See, Joy? People can make it without regulations. A man of twisting fortunes, Hamilton lost his fortune, which he would later rebuild in the 1837 financial panic. Yep. There you go. Left a sizable fortune, estimated to be about $2 million. About $250 million in today's money. Yep. Hamilton apparently showed little interest in racial struggles and was disliked by the black press at the time. Uh-oh. He also invested in railroads that wouldn't serve black passengers or segregated their compartments. Okay, well, I guess to each his own. I don't know why all that happened, but the guy was a millionaire. That's the point. Mary Ellen Pleasant, most powerful black woman in San Francisco. What did she do? Let's see. Invested money she inherited from her husband. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Joyce says don't do that. Don't hand down the money to your family. Well, thankfully, we live in a society that doesn't give a damn what Joy Reid thinks. By the way, born in 1815 to 1904, and she invested in profitable investments, including real estate, mining stocks, which her husband owned, and apparently she listed her profession as a capitalist in the 1890 census. She was active in the abolitionist cause. Pleasant provided financial support for her fiery abolitionist, John Brown, funding his raid on Harper's Ferry. She admitted to reporters at the end of her life that she and her friend of John Brown inscribed on her tombstone. There you go. Okay. Prominent woman. Prominent black millionaire woman. There you go. And again, there's other ones here as well. Robert Reed Church. There's a couple others post-Civil War here. But the last one I want to go over before we end today's show, and I know I'm a little bit over the time, but that's okay. I don't mind. Madam C.J. Walker. She was alive from 1867 to 1919. Wasn't a maid. I don't know what Joy Reid is thinking. Who started her life as a Louisiana sharecropper born to formerly enslaved parents in 1867. It is usually cited as a first black millionaire, although she wasn't. But she became famous as a successful businesswoman in New York in the Progressive era, some decades after the end of Reconstruction, where she was putting together various things like beauty products and things of that nature. And she was a black entrepreneur. That's what she did. She got her fortune from these beauty products. Very prominent black woman. Millionaire, multi-millionaire. Very flamboyant. There's others too. We could talk about, obviously, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Things of that nature. People, again, other names here. I could keep going on. There's several others on here. But the idea that Joy Reid is simply going to paint everyone as simply nothing more than a butler or a maid working for white people is a bunch of trash. Understand it's trash. She's trash. Her point of view is trash. And I don't care what she thinks. She's an idiot. She's so stupid, she went on to say this just the other day.
And I mean, and as somebody who's, my parents, my father was from the Congo and my mother was from Guyana. And so they were the immigrants who came here on purpose and they got the rude awakening. My mother got the rude awakening, like, oh, it's racist here. that's weird. For some reason, she was like, told me, why go to Bristol? Yeah, she's like, tell me this is the land of opportunity, but not for me. It's weird. But I am familiar.
Okay, stupid. First of all, it's dumb. Joy Reid makes on average, or she did, $3 million a year working for MS Nobody Cares until they fired her ass because she has no talent and she doesn't even tell the truth. By the way, the Guyana average salary in U.S. dollars would be $5,200 per year. Just thought I'd share that. So I don't think Joy wants to go anytime soon. Just thought I'd share that part with you as well. Yep, there you go. So you have someone who's full of crap, absolutely full of crap, and they spew these lies and other people buy it right up. It's really, really appalling, I think. I think it's just disgusting when people lie like that. Oh, by the way, one more thing I want to share just before we do leave today. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt had this big ICE bust, working with ICE, with his local police, busted 120 different illegal aliens in a highway crackdown, slamming on Biden's border failure policy. He is a terrific governor. I'm probably going to go over that tomorrow with you. This is a very good article. I want to go over that with you and see what cooperation can do when you work with the federal government and not against them. Folks, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy the show. Share with others. Until then, be good, stay busy. God bless.